Welcome to The Debate. So today, we're essentially putting the entire digital marketing agency model on trial. For what the last 2 decades, the industry standard has been crystal clear and, frankly, incredibly rigid. You sign a long-term contract, you pay a heavy monthly retainer, often thousands of euros, and then you wait. You wait for reports, you wait for results. But there's a disruption in the source material we're looking at today that challenges that entire economic structure. We're dissecting a concept called the one-shot SEO blueprint. It claims that the retainer model is not just expensive, but, well, obsolete.
It is a bold claim. And I'll admit, purely from a financial perspective, it's incredibly seductive. I mean, who wouldn't want to stop paying monthly fees? It's the dream of every CFO. But we have to be careful not to confuse cheaper with better. The core question we need to answer today isn't just about saving money. It's about whether a business can actually survive in the cutthroat environment of search results without a pilot at the wheel. Is this concept empowering clients, or is it abandoning them in the middle of the ocean with a paddle and a map?
Well, I'm taking the position that this is a necessary, even inevitable evolution. The data suggests businesses are just bleeding capital on what we call vague maintenance, paying 15, maybe 20,000 euros a year for automated reports and minor tweaks that don't actually move the needle. The one-shot approach it's forensic. It offers a high-impact, 7-day strategic injection that shifts asset ownership back to the client. It assumes the client is intelligent enough to run their own ship if they're given the right map.
And I'm here to take the skeptical view. I would argue that the done-with-you methodology is a potential minefield for the average company. SEO, search engine optimization, it's not a static problem like building a shelf. It's a dynamic problem like the stock market. Handing a client a forensic map it's almost useless if they don't know how to drive the car. I believe this model dangerously underestimates the complexity of execution and the volatility of Google's algorithms. You can hand someone a blueprint for a skyscraper, but if they don't have the engineers to pour the concrete, it's just a nice drawing.
Okay, but let's look at the economic reality first, because that is where this disruption hits hardest. The contrast in the source material it's violent. On one side, you have the traditional agency model. You are locked into a 6 to 12-month contract. You're paying upwards of 1,000, 2,000 euros a month. I mean, that is a 15 to 24,000 euro annual liability. On the other side, this blueprint is a one-time investment of 1,490 euros. That is less than a single month of most agency retainers.
The math is obvious. If I can pay 1,500 once versus 15,000 a year, I'm taking the 1,500. Nobody is debating the arithmetic here. But we have to ask, what are you actually buying? The agency model, for all its faults, and I know there are many, it sells peace of mind. It sells the idea that someone else is handling the problem. This blueprint is explicitly, we analyze, you execute. You aren't buying a solution, you are buying a to-do list, a very expensive, very complicated to-do list.
You call it a to-do list, I call it a strategic roadmap, and that distinction matters. The philosophy here is, quote, stop paying monthly for strategy you only need once. Think about it. Does your business strategy change drastically every 30 days? No. The blueprint provides a complete forensic audit and a plan within a 7-day turnaround. It focuses entirely on what they call the money page, the single URL on your site that drives the most revenue. It cuts the fat. It says, here's exactly what is broken. Here's how to fix it. Now you own it. It breaks the dependency cycle.
Dependency can be a bad thing, sure, but in technical fields, dependency is often necessary. I don't do my own dental work, even if I have a mirror and a drill. The source material highlights that clients must apply for the service. They have to fill out a form detailing revenue and traffic to check eligibility. That signals to me that this isn't a tool for everyone. It's a tool for a very sophisticated subset of businesses. If a small business owner with no technical team buys this, they are going to stare at that roadmap and have no idea where to start.
I want to push back on that. The eligibility criteria actually validate the product. It filters out the people who aren't ready. It's an honesty filter. But let's dig into this peace of mind you mentioned. I think that's a fallacy.
I think it's a security blanket that costs $2,000 a month. In the traditional model, months 4, 5, and 6 are often characterized by what the source material calls vague maintenance.
That is a very aggressive term for ongoing optimization.
Is it? I mean, let's be honest. What does a client actually receive in month 8 of a retainer? Usually, it's an automated PDF report generated by software, maybe a 15-minute call with the junior account manager, and a few minor technical tweaks. They are not getting a deep dive strategy every month, yet they are paying for it. The blueprint disrupts this by front-loading all the value. You get the forensic deep dive immediately.
Right.
Instead of waiting for a quarterly review to find out your strategy is wrong, you find out in 7 days. It's about speed and efficiency.
Speed is great, I grant you that, but you are ignoring the war of attrition aspect of SEO. You ask what they get in month 8. They get insurance. If Google rolls out a core update in month 8, and they do, several times a year, the agency is there to pivot the strategy. If you bought a one-time blueprint 3 months ago, and the algorithm shifts today, your blueprint is suddenly a historical document. It's outdated. You paid for a snapshot of the battlefield, but the battle lines have moved.
That assumes the fundamental principles of a website's health change every time Google sneezes. They don't. Quality is quality. The blueprint focuses on structural foundations. If you build the house on solid rock, proper architecture, good content, clean code, you don't need a contractor living in your spare room to check the foundation every week.
But the weather changes. Your argument relies on a static environment. The digital landscape is fluid. Competitors emerge. Search intent shifts. New technologies appear. Plus, consider the resource scarcity mentioned in the text. They limit this to 10 strategic blueprints per month.
Which proves the quality. It means you're getting a senior expert's eyes on your business, not a factory line.
Or it proves the model is unscalable. But yes, I agree that getting the full attention of a senior expert for a week is better than being one of 50 accounts managed by a junior rep. However, once that expert walks away, the silence is deafening. There is no feedback loop. If the client implements the strategy wrong, there is no one to say, "Stop, you're breaking the site."
The feedback loop is the data. If revenue goes up, you did it right. But let's talk about the specific methodology, because this is where the one-shot model is unique. They don't try to fix the whole website. They focus exclusively on the money page.
Okay, this is one of my biggest concerns. It feels myopic. A website is an ecosystem. It's a living organism. If you only tune up the engine but ignore the tires and the transmission, the car still doesn't run well. By ignoring the wider site architecture, don't you risk destabilizing the whole domain?
They aren't ignoring it. They are harvesting it. This is a crucial distinction. The blueprint includes an internal linking map. For our listeners who aren't SEO technicals, think of a website like a plumbing system. Authority, or what we affectionately call link juice, flows through the pipes.
A classic SEO analogy.
Because it works. Every page on your site has some authority. The blueprint crawls the entire site to find hidden gems. These are old blog posts, forgotten resources, high-authority pages that are just sitting there doing nothing. The strategy identifies these and says, link this old page to your money page. It is surgical. Instead of a general audit saying, fix broken links, it says, funnel all your existing authority to the one page that makes you money.
I accept the physics of that. Channeling authority to the conversion point is smart. It's basic PageRank theory. But my issue is with the hidden gems themselves. In a done-with-you model, who maintains those gems? If the marketing manager decides to delete old blog posts to clean up the site next year, they might unknowingly cut the fuel line to the money page.
That's an operational failure, not a strategic one. You can't blame the map maker if the driver drives off a cliff.
But the retainer model prevents that operational failure. The agency would say, don't delete that, it's powering your main product page. Without the agency, the client is flying blind. They have a map of the plumbing, but they don't understand the pressure dynamics. They might turn a valve and shut off their own traffic. And again, because it's a one-shot deal, there's no one to call to fix the leak.
Then the business needs to improve its internal protocols. We cannot infantilize companies forever. But let's move to the third pillar because this is the most high-tech aspect of the offer and probably the most controversial, the semantic and NLP analysis.
Now we're getting into the weeds. This is where it gets dangerous.
It stands for natural language processing. So the blueprint analyzes the content not just for keywords, but for missing entities. To explain this simply, in the old days, Google just counted how many times you said best coffee maker. Today, Google's AI reads like a human. It expects to see related concepts, grind size, water temperature, extraction, Arabica beans. These are entities. If you don't have them, Google doesn't think you are an expert. The blueprint identifies these gaps.
Exactly. It's about topical authority. And this is where the one-shot model scares me the most. The report tells the client, you are missing these 15 entities. Go add them.
Which is incredibly valuable data. It's literally the missing ingredients to the recipe.
It is valuable, but it is dangerous in the hands of a layman. You can't just sprinkle entities into a paragraph like salt. It requires context. It requires flow. If a client's copywriter just shoehorns these words in to check a box, the content becomes unreadable. It sounds like it was written by a robot. You risk destroying the user experience in the pursuit of the algorithm. You end up with Frankenstein content, technically optimized, but humanly repulsive.
But the blueprint anticipates this. They provide ready-to-paste title tags and meta descriptions. They provide an on-page architecture guide, H1s, H2s. It's not abstract theory. It says change this headline to exactly this. It removes the guesswork.
Ready-to-paste works for headlines. It does not work for the body of a 2,000-word article. You can't provide a ready-to-paste semantic argument unless you rewrite the whole piece. The client still has to write the prose that connects these entities. And if they write bad prose, they lose the customer, even if they win the bot. The gap between knowing what to write and knowing how to write it is massive. And the agency usually has professional SEO copywriters. The client might have an intern.
Well, if they have a money page generating significant revenue, they can afford a decent copywriter. But let's talk about the fourth pillar, which addresses the hardest part of SEO, the off-page gap, backlinks.
The dark arts of SEO. This is where the bodies are buried.
Usually, yes. Agencies treat backlink acquisition as a black box. You pay them and maybe you get links, maybe you don't. This blueprint changes that. It runs a backlink gap strategy. It tells the client your competitor ranks #1 because they have 50 more links than you. And here is exactly the anchor text they're using.
Transparency is good. I applaud the forensic nature of that. It lifts the veil. But here's the problem. Knowing you need 50 backlinks is the easy part. Actually getting them, that is a grind. That is hard labor.
But having the strategy allows you to outsource precisely. You can hire a link builder with a specific brief. Get me 10 links with this anchor text.
You make it sound like ordering a pizza. 1 pepperoni link, please. High-quality link building requires relationships, PR, outreach, negotiation. You have to convince another website owner that your content is worth linking to. If you hand this data to a business owner, what are they going to do? They're going to go to a cheap marketplace like Fiverr and buy 50 spammy links to hit the number.
But the blueprint includes an anchor text strategy to prevent exactly that. It tells them the ratios to use, how many branded links, how many exact match keywords, so they don't look spammy. It provides the safety rails.
Safety rails don't help if the engine explodes. If a client buys cheap links because they don't have an outreach team, they will get penalized. Google will slap them down. The agency model for that 15,000 usually handles the outreach. They have the relationships, they have the network. You are removing the labor force and replacing it with a manual.
You're removing the markup on the labor force. That's the difference. You're empowering the client. Finally, the blueprint includes conversion and UX recommendations. It explicitly warns against vanity metrics. It focuses on user experience to ensure the traffic actually buys something. This proves it's a revenue strategy, not just a tech audit.
Developer breaks the mobile responsiveness while moving the button, you lose. It all comes back to my central thesis. The map is perfect. I don't deny the quality of the map, but the terrain is treacherous.
But at least they know what to do. The alternative is paying a retainer for months, while an agency slowly A/B tests things without a clear forensic direction. The blueprint cuts through the noise. It assumes the client is a competent business operator.
It assumes the client is a competent digital agency, effectively. It transfers the agency's workload to the client's internal team.
It transfers the ownership,
And the liability.
which belongs with the business owner. That is the point. You shouldn't be outsourcing your core revenue strategy to a third party who cares less about your business than you do.
That's a fair philosophical point, but pragmatically, outsourcing exists because expertise is hard to hire internally. I think we have reached the core of the disagreement. It's about faith in the client's competence versus the reality of their capacity.
So, to wrap this up, for me, the one-shot SEO blueprint is a rational, necessary disruption. The industry has become bloated with vague retainers that bleed capital without showing receipts. This model respects the intelligence of the business owner. It provides a forensic, data-backed roadmap identifying the money page, the missing entities, and the backlink gap for a fraction of the cost. It shifts the asset ownership back to the client. It allows you to stop renting your success and finally own it.
And I respect the depth of the audit. As a diagnostic tool, it is brilliant. If an agency used this tool, I'd be thrilled. But I maintain that the done-with-you model is risky for anyone who doesn't have a sophisticated internal team. SEO is a marathon, not a sprint. A static report, no matter how detailed, cannot react to a changing environment or fix a botched implementation. My fear is that for many businesses, this blueprint will be a very expensive map to a destination they simply lack the vehicle to reach.
And that is the question we leave with you, the listener. Look at your team. Look at your money page. Do you have the internal capacity to execute a professional roadmap and save $15,000 a year?
Or do you need to pay for the pilot because you don't know how to fly the plane?
Thank you for listening to The Debate.
Until next time.